We're in Tarragona with Yu Hao. You tell us what you do these days.
Yeah, so I'm a lecturer in translation studies. I teach translation subjects at University of Melbourne in
Okay,
Australia.
but you don't. Are you Australian?
Not really, no. So I came to Australia in early 2017 as one of the international students.
From where?
From China.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
And you went to Melbourne then
I went to Melbourne, yeah.
to do what?
So I studied at the Master of Translation and Interpreting. So it exactly the same program I'm teaching into
Okay.
at the moment. So I feel quite special.
So you were trapped in Melbourne. Is that
Well, I'm happily settled
good?
in Melbourne.
Right, that's better. Before going to Melbourne, you were where in China?
So I did my BA in my home city. So it's Xi'an.
Xi'an. And what was that in?
In language teaching, actually. So I'm coming from a language teaching
Okay.
background. I was one of the English majors
Okay.
back home.
Okay. So you went from language teaching to MA translation, and then.
And then a doctoral degree also in translation studies as well.
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne with the same supervisor, which is you.
Not you, yeah. And then you stayed.
And then I stayed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a translation person. Have you been a professional translator at all?
Professional interpreters for the
good, yeah.
community.
Yeah.
I rarely done any professional translation, but most of my translation is associated with my research projects or the projects for others. But I was a liaison interpreter
Yeah.
for almost 2 years during my master's for a lot of delegations who visited Melbourne for
Right.
various purposes.
Okay. Yeah. And then you're the co-author actually the book, which is called.
How to augment language skills.
Yes, right. And the other title is I can't forget. It's machine translation and generative AI in
Translator training,
and
language teaching.
yeah, that wasn't a snappy title, was it? We should have done better there.
No.
That was based on your PhD, actually.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. What was it done in your PhD?
My PhD, yeah. So basically, I look at so that was a thesis by publication. So pretty much, it's a very close collaboration with my supervisor. So the thesis was on basically the impacts of neural-machine translation on education and training, because neural-machine translation was the new black.
Yes.
So I actually look at the impacts from different perspectives of stakeholders. So I guess we look at the impacts on the actual employment of our recent translation
So it was
graduates.
a graduate employment study. Part of it. I guess.
Part of it,
Yeah,
and then the other part would be a curriculum studies, because we do look at the changes that has been made in the on the curriculum level to make programs that are more updated, therefore be adapted to the external changes. And then for that part, we did focus group with teachers, program leaders, and to see the impacts of that technology.
Was surprising in that?
Surprising in which part?
Any part?
Any part.
Was any of it surprising?
I feel like the juicy part or the meaty part is the graduate survey.
Yeah.
So one thing, it tells us that only 30% of the students, I bet the percentage goes down currently, but I don't know.
Yeah.
30% of our graduates actually became professional translators and interpreters. Another 1/3, they went into teaching. The rest of them, they find enjoyable employment in all kinds of areas. Yeah. So.
And who needed the technology?
It's the translators.
Right, but not the others.
Not the others. But the tricky part is that we ask about translation technology, right?
Yes.
So it's more specific to the first group.
Yeah.
But then we find that what we've been trying to do for many years, like language components in translator training, it's more transferable. and it's needed and it's required by all three groups across the board.
Okay.
Yeah. So language teachers, they find.
So we still have to teach language, or communication skills.
Yes.
Right. That's a message.
Yeah. Yeah.
And should we just still insist on the technologies?
Technology.
Or is it different now with AI?
Well, in the spirit of empiricism,
Right.
more research.
We don't
We
know.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I like technology, and I feel like most of my students in the classroom who've grown up with different kinds of technology, they embrace it. But we do have students who say that they are ethically obliged not to use AI for some reasons, but then we still encourage them to explore.
We have to explore.
Yeah.
So we did a book together based on the one augmenting language skills.
Yeah.
Some criticisms say it's too much from the translation side and not enough from the language learning side.
I feel like it's a very it's a fair comment.
Yeah.
Because I'm from a translation background, so even though I've got a BA in language teaching, but I was a kid at the time, so it's not an expert. So I feel like every single project, it tells a little bit something about the authors, who we are and where we are. It's a fair comment, but then I was thinking if we collaborate with someone from language teaching, we may get more component on that part. But then
that's when we rewrite the book in 10 years' time. What kind of research do you think we need in translation studies?
I don't know. Like as what I said, so every project. So no. How do I
Well,
say
tell
it?
us about the projects you're working on now. I mean, you're doing different things now.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how AI could be used in a way to make the society more inclusive, a better place.
Yeah.
So sometimes we see the technology is making a lot of progress, and then a lot of research is about the improving quality of its output, its performance, and so forth. But at the same time, we see people have somehow been alienated by that technology. Recently, New York Times report on Token Magazine. So the employees from the technology company, they're not being evaluated by the quality of their work, but by the amount of tokens they've been using to produce their work. It's like you having your computer working 24/7 for you, and then therefore you've got most of the tokens used in the entire company, and you are the superstar. So one thing I see that toxic corporate culture, but from the other side, I also see people's anxiety about job replacement. So they're trying to say that I know how to work with AI agents, therefore I shouldn't be the group that will be replaced by AI. So we've seen those research and those news reports, but I'm optimistic. So I'm trying to find like how AI could.
But you've got projects now on medical communication.
Yeah.
And on museum. So are those in the spirit of this?
Making the world a better place.
Accessibility. With AI or with machine translation? Should we forget about machine translation or just look at AI?
Well, I don't think that's a good idea to be just focused on AI, because as you said, so machine translation can work really, really well for low resource languages. Yeah. So really we have to test it before we say that we're going to abandon any technologies. So it's not the newer the better sometimes.
Yohao, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that's it. Okay.
I don't know, it died. I don't know if this app is still going. The camera's still on.
No.